pocket party.
And we're back. The one, the only, the podcast king. Here he is, Syatt.
Hey, Darren.
How are you?
This is like a couple years in the making because we were going to do it a couple times, and then Steve Simone joined once at the All Things Comedy, and then we went to the Army Navy store or something. We had Mexican food, so it was fun in person. But it's good to see you, man. It's been a long time. It's been a rough year.
Oh man, it really is. It's like up and down. There's days that there's moments where I'm like, what is going on? And then there's other moments where I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of getting used to this. And there's other moments where I'm learning things. I'm like,
are you in a log cabin? I'm not even sure where you are.
So I'm splitting my time between the farm up near Fresno, right, and Los Angeles. And right now, this week, I'm in Los Angeles with my family. We're all here together. Oh, okay. And but this wall is so this is a green screen. This is a normally it's a white wall, but what I did is I took pictures of the house up at the farm, and I thought, you know what, I like this brown wall. This is just a nice backdrop. It's
and that's a real green screen behind you, because I'm thinking about doing the same thing, because I know when you do it with Zoom, sometimes it looks weird. But
no, it's a real. I have a green curtain back there. You know what? I've never done this before. I'm gonna show.
Well, no, I don't want to mess up your video. If you can do it without messing, I don't want to mess it up. But that's just it's cool. It looks real. I thought you were like deep in isolation in the woods.
Yeah. Well, normally I like if there's any footage from the farm, that's all real. It's like a real window behind me and stuff. But in LA, it's just a white wall. I don't have a
show tents and traffic.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I should do that. I should take a photo of those overpasses, like all the tents and stuff. Here I am in North Hollywood, bringing it to you,
I've heard it's gotten a lot worse since I left in August. I heard it's gotten kind of crazy.
You know what? It's funny is I made a joke with my buddy who moved, and I said, because all my friends that have left, they all kind of ask, like, so how's it looking? What's it looking like? And I told him, I go, man, I should just say how terrible it is so no one ever moves back.
Right. Oh,
so
yeah.
So I get all the stage time to myself.
All the stage time, no traffic. There's going to be free parking now.
Yeah. No, but it does. It does. You know what? I will say this. I did look at one of the overpasses or underpass, whatever, in North Hollywood that was really bad for a while with tents and the stuff. And I did notice that it was cleaned out this time. I don't know if that was... I don't know if that's everywhere, but I noticed that particular one, the one that I have to look at it again, but it was.
Well, I lived there for 10 years, which I know is nothing. You have been there for a while. I know you're from Fresno, but in the last year I was there, I had and trust me, I'm very thankful that I'm not homeless. I would be homeless right now if it wasn't for my parents, but, I had my car broken into, and I lived in a nice, not like a Beverly Hills or area, but I lived in Valley Village. It's a normal, nicer area of the valley. And someone came into my apartment complex's garage area and smashed a window and stole my podcast equipment. So,
damn.
It was a time. LA was never my favorite place, but I do miss my friends and I miss comedy and I miss Mexican food. But other than that, it doesn't have to be in LA. I just miss those three things.
It's one of those things. You're right. Definitely, there was times where I'm like, it was looking bad. I don't know. Maybe it'll look bad. Maybe I'm just being optimistic because I'm still here.
How's Fresno?
Fresno, that's the thing. It's like, well, let me put it this way. When I'm at the farm, it's about a half hour from Fresno, so I don't really even go into Fresno. But there's something nice about leaving LA, to be 100% honest with you. It's like, I don't know if it's just like this weight that gets lifted, and I'm out there riding my bike, and I'm doing my work in the morning. Like I'm like editing videos and
I see you do boxing in like a junkyard or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, there's all these broken down, like old, like rusty, like farm equipment that I'm like, what can I do with that? I turn it into like a pull-up machine, or, I took that very same Army surplus store you were telling me about that we talked about. I put a bunch of old clothes in there, and I put some garbage bags around and duct taped them up, hung them, and now it's like a heavy bag. I'm punching it. I'm just having the time of my life at that. It's like,
you know how Carrot Top's all shredded now? You're gonna be like the next Carrot Top. You're gonna wow, look at you. You're like halfway there.
I'm there.
Look at you.
That's so funny. Yeah, your brother's a personal trainer, which I never knew. And then you know, I think you told the listeners, you go, hey, Google it sometime. And I was like, holy crap. It was like,
yeah, he has a lot. He was, for the people who don't know, my brother, his name is Jordan Syatt. And he doesn't do it anymore, but for like 3 or 4 years, he traveled the world with Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, and trained him and told him what to eat. And now I think he has like over like close to like 800,000 people on Instagram. Jordan does. So he's the younger brother who's more successful now. So and I'm 32 living in my parents' spare bedroom with a Buddha thing on the wall, but overall things are pretty good.
That's cool. So I was going to say, yeah. So when I'm flexing, you're like, yeah, my brother, you know, but like,
no, gee, look at you, dude. You're
that's not bad, right? For a comedian,
that's real muscle there. That's not even fake. That's not the green screen.
Yeah, these aren't green screens, man. No, but that was one of the things I want. Oh, he's doing great.
But I just love the video you guys put up. You guys just need to have a reality show soon.
Thank you, man. I love that kid, man. You know what? It's funny. Even before he was born, like I'm going to show you this. Before he was born, so my wife's Armenian, and one of the jokes I used to say is, "Hey, my wife's Armenian," what was the joke? I said, "Yeah, we were like, what's our baby going to look like? Is he going to come out like?" You know, like half Armenian, half amazing, you know, all this basically. Yeah. I was like, is he going to be like angry with an orange unibrow? Come on, bro. I'm hungry. My freckles are itchy. I got chest hairs. I even made a cartoon. Look at this. This is hilarious. I go, we live in Burbank. Our son lives in Glendale. And so I had like this cartoon where like, this is like a postcard from it where he's in a Mercedes and
perfect.
Got the Armenian flag. Come on, bro. That's not Mercedes. But yeah, so he's always been part of my comedy and my, you know, this and that. But look, man, I didn't even know where this came from. He's a musical genius, this kid. He's got perfect pitch. He can tell you you could take a pencil and like bang the table and he'll be like F sharp major or whatever. I don't know. He can tell you what things are.
Oh, that's perfect. That's good for him. He's gonna be throwing the girls away. They're gonna be chasing.
Yeah, he's definitely entertained by, you know, like he entertains my wife and I. Like he'll be watching. Sometimes we'll be watching a movie and he'll be watching the movie with us, but at his piano, like going along with the score of the movie, like the gist of it. I'm like, that's so cool. I mean, I'm sure not every note and everything, but like the rhythm of it. And it's like, wow, how did you do that? You know, like
that's awesome. I mean, I never got to meet your wife, but between the both of you, he got some good genes.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's great. She's really a good balance. It's that's the thing, you know, I've been married for 23 years and you know, I think if you find the right person, you just go for it and just, you know, and that's the thing. I think in today's society, so many people, unfortunately, especially in our business, they just want to trade up all the time. They're like, I got to get a new car. I got to get a new phone. I got to get a new wife. I got to get, or whatever, you know? And
it happens all the time. It blew my mind in LA. And not like, I'm not even talking about comedians, but like when I got to LA, I didn't realize how many people cheated on their spouses and girlfriends. And I'm not like it happens and no one's perfect, but like, I thought that was like a random thing that happened occasionally, but like it happened all the time in LA. Like when I was editing TV shows, they'd talk about it, and I'm like, gee, like LA to me is sort of it's sort of like, to me, I treat it like a business trip, but like the people who are attracted to like that sort of lifestyle aren't always the best people, and it's I was gonna say I did stand up in Clovis once. I went up in San Francisco, and then I went down, and there was an Italian restaurant that had a show in Clovis, and I saw a movie in Fresno right before I went there, and it felt like I was back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, like when things were like fun and nice and like it was awesome. I love I like Central California, man. It gets a bad rap, but I like it.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. You're probably talking about Chico's Italian restaurant.
I am talking
Yeah.
about the Chico's, and there's a guy who runs it who you probably know his name. I'm blanking on it.
I think his name is Danny, right? Danny?
Yep, I think you're right.
Danny.
And it was
Yeah,
packed. It was
probably.
packed.
Yeah.
There was a
Shout out
lot
to
of people there.
Danny.
Shout
Yeah.
out to I mean, I don't know what's going on right now, but they had a good crowd, and like Bakersfield, I did a bunch of times. Like the crowds there
Yes.
were fun.
They're great,
It was
right?
a lot better than being in LA.
You know what? Fresno, the whole San Joaquin Valley, we get a bad rap, I think, only because compared to you know, like Beverly Hills or LA or what people
Right.
considered LA, they were like, oh, I don't want to go down. But like you said, if you're like a salt of the earth, if you don't mind, like growing up there, it felt like we are like 15 years, 20 years, at least back then, behind the times of But as an adult, I don't mind going back in time. I don't mind
No.
memorabilia. I don't mind like nostalgia. I'll go to Clovis, like you said, where it's kind of a throwback and people
Yeah,
say hi to
there
you
was a help wanted sign in the window of a store, and I was like, I haven't seen these. Even when I applied, my first job was at CVS, and I remember they had a phone computer system where you had to apply on the computer in the store, and I haven't turned in a paper application. I don't think ever.
yeah.
It's nice that stuff like that still exists. And trust me, I'm a tech person. I make my living with tech, but I feel like we took it a little bit too far. Like sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like we went a little bit too far with it.
Yeah, this comedian last night, I think it was Chris Porter. He tweeted, yeah, it was
Okay.
Chris. He tweeted basically so do I have to download one of those dating apps or am I just going to die alone? Like, is that what it's come
Right.
to?
Oh, right.
So, I mean, I guess, is that how it is now? Like, are you even looking to date right now? Or you're just like, let me get my other affairs in order or.
A mix of both. Unfortunately, a chubby short guy with no hair on his head isn't most girls' first choice on Tinder. But I did a little bit, and I actually got turned down I did a whole episode actually of my podcast about all my dating fails. But this girl, when I told her I was Jewish, said she only wanted to date a man of God. So I struck out here in Florida. But to be honest, it's weird. I don't even know. I don't even know if I would feel comfortable kissing somebody right now. It's kind of a
Yeah.
weird. And where am I gonna am I gonna take her to the beach? Actually down here in Florida, things are open, but I don't know about you, but the first night I got down here, my dad lives kind of close to the West Palm Improv, like 20 minutes away from it.
Oh, cool.
And we went to this Greek place to go pick food up, and we were like, well, maybe if it's not busy, we'll eat there. And there was probably at least 100 people in there without masks. And we're comics. We go to it's not a good show unless there's a few hundred people. That's the best shows.
Yeah.
But
what's up, guys? How you like the show so far? Pretty good, right? Kind of weird that I'm out here in the country with the chair next to me. But anyways, if you like the show and you want to help out, go to Cameo. I do birthday shout outs, anniversary shout outs, or if you just want to do a donation, go to DarrenCarter.com, PayPal, or Venmo at Darren Carter Comic. Now let's get back to the show.
Seeing that now, I kind of had a little bit of a panic attack. I was like, that's too many people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. By the way, I didn't know. So you're in Florida. Is that where you're?
For right now, I was in Milwaukee for 2 months. I was in Boston for 2 months. And then as soon as it started to get cold and snowy, I left, and I'm going to head back there within the next month.
Oh, okay. So you're in Florida. Yeah, Florida. That sounds amazing, by the way.
I just got back from the beach. Florida gets a bad rap, and I don't know if I'd want to be here in the summer when it's my dad has lived down here for a while, so I remember flying into Fort Lauderdale once, and when you walk, as soon as you leave the airport, the doors open, you're sweating in the summer. That I don't really like, but right now it's 75, 80 with a breeze. I just went to the beach and the water was warm. In California and in Boston, the water's ice cold. It feels like you're doing cryogenics, just like cryotherapy. But here, I don't go. I lived in LA. I think I said for 10 years. I think I went to the beach 4 times. You have to pay for parking. It was terrible. Down here, I got parking in the shade. It's free. Florida is not as bad as everyone likes to give it like give it a bad rap. Like I actually stopped on the way down. I had dinner with Steve Simone and his parents up by where he lives now.
Oh, cool.
And he has a beautiful house, and we sat in the backyard, and just it was this. What I'm actually hoping for is like this year. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a lot of time spent indoors again. But I'm hoping to, by this time next year, things might open up again. And I don't really know where I want to live. I haven't really seen much of the country. I mean, that's one of the most appealing things about stand up for me was the ability to travel. And like I had just started my third year when the pandemic happened. So I'm basically going to be starting over again. I'm years away from touring, but I would like, if I could make my living online, I'd like to, spend a month in Texas, spend a month in New Orleans. Like I kind of want to see. I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, it's really cool, man. For me, I got to see a lot of the country in my early 20s. I did like these big old long college tours, almost like a band, where I'd be gone 3 months in a row, like with two other comedians.
And 3 months?
Yeah, we'd be for a semester. We would be. I remember excuse me. The end of August until like Thanksgiving. I remember I'd fly to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Wow. The tour van would pick us up. The tour manager would be like, okay. And we'd have the schedule and you'd see like 47 dates or whatever it was. And we'd just be like, yeah, upstate New York. And then we'll make our way down to York, Pennsylvania. And and it was at that age, it was really cool, especially the first leg of the tour, because I'd never seen that part of the country and getting a steady paycheck. And
did you get really good at stand up doing it like almost every night for like 2-3 months?
Yes and no, because I'd already done stand up for a while before then, a few years before then, but it was colleges, so they're all basically around the same age. So the audience is always the people that come to our shows were probably almost all between 18 and 19 years old.
Okay.
And so you do get kind of good, but then you also, like certain jokes wouldn't work because they just couldn't get the reference, or they would groan a lot, like, oh, because they're still immature.
Oh, even back then. That's funny.
Yeah, even back then. But maybe it was my delivery. Maybe I wasn't conveying my message across
I'm sure you destroy now. I love when you post the stand-up clips you post, because it just
thank you.
I got, not like I wasn't gonna lose my car or anything, but I'd like to gamble a little bit, and that stopped as soon as I started stand-up. And I think it's like the adrenaline rush is similar, and it's like, when you post clips and they're going nuts, like I almost imagine it's me for a second. I'm like, I just go back to when there's levels, because I've had good sets, but there's a difference when someone's been doing it 20, 30 years. Like my good set is there, like, okay, whatever. So like just to hear like that, when you can make an entire like big group of people just lose their minds. It's I love it. I miss going to stand-up shows. Like I'm a stand-up fan. It's
Thank you. Yeah,
it's a magical thing.
It's so good, man. Like, you know what? If there's any physical bit you have where you do any kind of like mugging or facial expression and get the crowd to laugh, if you learn to like milk that and just in a good way where they're it's an incredible feeling, because they're laughing, and then you just kind of like lift an eyebrow and they'll keep laughing. And
right.
I one of the clips I posted, maybe that's the one you saw. There was a couple over here to the side of the stage, and a really pretty girl, and she was just laughing so hard every time I made this face. And
okay, you posted a few. I don't remember if it was that one or not.
I was like, I got to film this, and I only caught about 12 seconds of it, but it was just like, even when I look at that, I'm like, man, I love stand-up comedy. Is unlike any other art form, and it was just. Let me see if I can pull it up super quick. It's right here. Here it is. I don't know if this is the one you saw, but just look at this girl's expression. Just.
Oh yeah. That's. She's crying. It's I mean, I got into stand up from watching specials, and specials are great, and there are some amazing ones, but there really isn't. It's sort of like two different things, because seeing it live is amazing. Like when it's good, when it's bad, it's bad. But when it's really good, it's really good.
Yeah, it really is. It's I mean, how great is that feeling though? Like I'm going to take you back maybe a year ago, perhaps, when they're like, please welcome Lee Syatt, and the crowd's, it feels great, right?
Oh my God. I had nothing to compare it to. I was never good at sports and any of that. And, I was very new. I got to do some cool shows because of the podcast with Joey. I got to do shows that I really didn't have any business being on. But there was like I did the theater in Boston where I grew up going to as a kid.
Wow.
And it was all Joey's fans, so they were very and from what I heard, it is true that when they already like you, it's a lot easier. So it's sort of like hitting off of a tee almost. So I've had bad sets in front of fans before, but it was such a special night. My mom was there, and like there was like 1,100 people, which is the biggest I've ever done, and it just I said in my podcast, I felt like I was Tom Brady or something for a minute.
Yeah,
and I can't imagine like 100,000 people, like being a football star, like doing it in the arena. That must just be magical. But I mean, to be honest, I had just as much fun doing like stage 2 at the Ice House. When they get 50 people or 60 people on stage 2, it's just like they just explode.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just that what it is, I think, with stand-up as a stand-up, it's like when you have this idea, you figure it out, you write it down, and then when you were able to retell it, and then you set it up, you punchline, the crowd reacts, and there's like this connection, and it makes you feel like, wow, other people can relate to that, and then they're laughing because they're like, me too, like that's happened,
right?
And it's just the best feeling, like
and then I'll let you. If we want to get off stand up, that's fine. But I think it was the first like time I was with Joey. I did a small show with Rodrigo Torres and like the Brea Improv, but Joey took me to Cap City, which is now unfortunately closed. But I did 3 minutes on the earlier late show on Saturday. I think it was maybe the late show, and I did fine. I was only like a month or two into stand up, but I did it well enough that I got off stage and there was a wall that like you could walk behind without going back to the back of the room, and like the audience couldn't see you. And I had to lean up against it, and my leg shook for like all of the adrenaline just came pouring out of me. Like it's such a high, and I do miss it. I even if I don't do it for like a living, which I don't know who I would like to, but who knows if I'll be able to.
You will. If you want to, you will.
Yeah. But honestly, just to be able to do it for fun and make friends, and just like it's like how some people, I don't know, play darts or go bowling. If I could just do that and do stuff and get that little feeling every once in a while, that would be amazing.
It is amazing. When is the last time you got on stage?
I've done 4 minutes in a year. I did I had a 2-month consulting gig in Milwaukee on the way back from California.
Yes.
And Sam Tripoli, who was one of the nicest people ever in comedy, was in Appleton.
Shout out to Sam.
Yeah. He just called me this morning. He did a show in Appleton in like September, and I just was gonna go to support him, and of course he said do a guest set, so I did 4 minutes, and I jumped off stage because I hadn't written or done anything, so I've done 4 minutes since last March. It's very sad. But I saw you went to Texas, right?
Yep, I went to Arizona, and that was really cool. Nice. And then I went to Texas, and I was already warmed up. So Texas was like, wow, it felt amazing. And it's funny, back to your point earlier when you said you were with your father, to see, lots of people, it is a little, especially, it was a little weird to my brain because, like I'm used to people, crossing the street when I'm walking or wearing masks, not everybody, right, but a lot of people. So to go back to, like people just, it felt good, but it was a little strange, I guess, just to see it because I hadn't seen it in a long time. And then by the third or fourth day, I was like, I could get used to this, but it is a little, I mean, as you can probably, it probably happened to you too, right? Going from like where you went down to Florida to be like, wow, this is like a little bit normal again,
Oh yeah. I mean, Wisconsin, I was in like a suburb. I wasn't even in Milwaukee. I was in a suburb. And like we would go out to restaurants, but like there weren't that many people there anyways. And they'd always have spaces in between. And then in Boston, there's a couple places open, but mostly not. Mostly everything's just takeout and everything was closed. And then I came down here and it has a rap of like no one cares. All the stores and all the restaurants have you wear a mask, but as soon as you sit down, you take it off, and it's kind of a joke. But yeah, the big crowds, I'm not, and I'm susceptible to it. I'm a bigger guy, and like I got bronchitis a few times, so I know what that's like, and COVID sounds worse. So I don't want that. And then my parents luckily my dad's already gotten the first shot, and I just actually found out like an hour ago that my mom got her appointment for the first shot. So as soon as they get protected, I would consider doing an open mic again or something. But I just don't. If I went to an open mic and my parents died, that would be.
No. I know. I know. It's one thing to be driven, but we're like, what? Was it really worth that 3 minutes? And then, it's
right. Like, and you bomb when your parents still die. Or like I have a 98-year-old great aunt who's down here. So for now, I'm just enjoying. Like I spent my entire time in California seeing my parents maybe twice a year for like 4 days each. So now I spent like 2 months with my mom, and I've spent like 5 or 6 weeks with my dad, and it's been nice. It's been nice to see.
Awesome. You know what I wanted to ask you? Gosh, there's so much to ask you. But okay, let's talk about this. I love seeing your posts about your physical fitness and your weight transformation. What started that, and tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
what was your weight when you started, and where are you at now? Let's just kick it off with that.
I actually just weighed today's my weigh-in day. So embarrassingly enough, I was at 336. And I got down, and that was high. I was probably closer to like 310 or something when the pandemic started. But like I remember when the pandemic started, I kept hearing rumors like you're not going to be allowed out of the house for 3 weeks. So I went to like Walmart in the Deep Valley and like got like a 40 pack of Rice Krispie treats, and it was gone in like a week because I was so nervous and freaked out. But there's a comic named Robert Kelly in New York, and he has a special, and he has a joke in it that kills me. He says, I'm on my 6th fat. And that's how I've been big my whole life. I've tried almost every diet. But when I moved to LA is when I really kind of exploded, because I was working nights, and at least when I was in college in Boston, I'd walk a lot. You don't have a car in Boston. So you walk, but in LA you don't walk at all.
Right. And I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm on my 6th what?
Fat. He's on his 6th time being, and I'm probably on more than that. So I've tried everything. A few years ago, I got down to like 227, which is still, I probably should lose another 50 pounds from that. But because I've always hated working out. I'm lazy in that way. But I found a guy who ran a kettlebell gym in Burbank, and it was just that.
Oh, cool.
9 in the morning, 3 days a week, and unfortunately it closed. But I formed such a great bond with them that I actually enjoyed working out. And then I lost that, and then I broke up with a very serious relationship, and I just sort of. Everyone says depression. I wasn't suicidal. And I have a pretty good life, but people get down. And if you told me I could never drink again, or I couldn't smoke weed or anything, drinking I don't care about at all. Weed, I'd be a little bit bored sometimes, but my thing is food. I love it, and especially at night. Like I would go out some nights to do comedy. just because I knew I could stop at 7-Eleven and get candy on the way home. Like that's like there were honestly there were some nights I'd be like, okay, I can go get candy if I go and do a set. So, and it's funny. I would love to know psychologically what it is, but everyone says whenever you gain weight back after losing it, you gain it back plus 15, and it's almost exactly every time you gain like a back plus 15 or 20. And I knock on wood was not having like I don't think I was having like real issues. I didn't feel in pain or anything, but like I was having like my fat jeans didn't fit anymore, and like you couldn't fit in a booth in a restaurant. It's embarrassing. So my brother and I, we're just different people, so we didn't have a very close relationship. And I reached out to him, and he helped me at the beginning, sort of. And it's weird. Yeah. Like it's not. There really isn't a magical key to it. You got to eat less calories than you're burning, and move a little bit. So I've just he hasn't really put me on it. I'm not doing anything crazy. I have one meal a day at night because at work I come from when I was working before my like adult jobs. I worked in like retail and restaurants. So you'll go sometimes all day without eating. So I'm gonna eat. We're recording this at night. I'm gonna eat. I usually eat every night around 7. I try to keep it between 16 and 1,800 calories. And let's see, Tuesdays are my weigh-in day, so I can tell you exactly how much I weigh.
Okay, you said that it was you started at 336,
and then that was December 2nd, I think, almost exactly. And then today it's March 2nd, and I weighed 287.
Nice.
So
that's great.
Almost 50 pounds down, 48.6.
Wow. And you know what? It's funny is, and I'm not going to give any advice.
No, please. I could use all the advice.
Okay. Cause I was going to say what people, I find that different people have different things that work for them. And, and so, you got to find what works for you, but what I have heard is, that I don't know if you use MyFitnessPal or something or those. I heard that really worked. I know people that have lost weight, and they said if I write down what I ate, it really does help. It keeps them like, I guess, accountable. Perhaps. It keeps
you accountable, and then it's also like I feel like a drug dealer now. Like I know like caramel rice cakes are 50 calories each, and chocolate rice cakes are 55 calories each, and I know that if I eat a pack of chicken, each one's 250. Like I know exactly how much it is, but it's also like they really get you, especially candy. That one is just crazy calorie wise. But even like a bag of chips, if you look at it, it says 120 calories per serving, but then you look and there's 18 servings in a bag.
Oh, so yeah.
They really, I just wasn't paying attention. It's not even like I wasn't paying attention. I just honestly probably didn't care. I was eating fast food. I haven't had that in 3 months.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's a great habit to break. You know what? One of my weaknesses for the longest time, even though I did I enjoy, I'm lucky in the fact that I actually do enjoy working out. And even if I don't work out for 3 days, I enjoy walking. To me, that's not even exercise. I like walking, listening to podcasts or talking on the phone. That's just, I can't.
Right. Oh yeah. I do 2 walks a week and 2 kettlebells a week. And I've been doing it live on Zoom and Patreon. That's cool. And it's been cool because most of the people on there some of them are losing weight, but most of them are just supportive, which has been nice. But it's also, what I like to say, and I could be stealing this from someone, so if I am, I apologize. But I either heard it somewhere or I came up with it. But when people ask me what I'm doing, I'm just not eating like a jerk anymore. It's I still have tonight's my weigh-in day, so I get to have a little bit of a treat. I'm gonna have some pasta tonight, which I do crave. I'm gonna have pasta with chicken and the salad. I don't have one thing I don't really have anymore is dessert. That's the one thing I and if I do, it's they have these sugar-free popsicles that are 25 calories each, which are it does the trick. It's a little sweet. It's not. Yeah. It's not I used to have one. This is when I knew I was getting. Every time I get big, this is how it happens. I go to 7-Eleven and I get one chocolate thing and one gummy thing, and it's that's probably close to 2,000 calories right there. So
and it's frustrating when you look at like how much exercise burns calories. You're like, damn, I did that for a long time. I'd only burned 400 calories. Like,
right.
It's
that's
so frustrating. It's like,
I know, that's what I heard is like, it is mostly food. Like the workout stuff helps. And I do like especially down here. I just literally, for the first time since I've been down here, I went to the beach and I walked on the sand, which was really, my legs are actually kind of sore right now. But
that's good.
I have normally been walking in like my dad's retirement complex, and it's nice out. And I talk with some friends for 45 minutes to an hour. I walk 2-3 miles, and it's better than, because my fitness pal you were talking about has a foot tracker. I mean, you have to have your phone with you, a step tracker. But there were days in LA where I'd be under 1,000 steps. Like if you're just at home all day, and now I try to get at least 5,000 steps. I know the goal is 10,000, but something's better than nothing. So I try to get at least 5,000 a day, and it's I've done I don't know if you saw Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Did you watch that a few years ago?
Yeah, I did.
I did that, and knock on wood, I did it for 27 days and I lost 70 pounds, but I gained it all by getting it back super quickly. But that was Dean Del Rey told us a story that he actually, I don't know if it was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, but he did a juice fast, and that's how he actually ended up getting diabetes.
Yeah.
Because when you and that's another thing. It's just, there's so many things that are just unfair about losing weight. Like if you eat an apple versus juicing an apple, like eating an apple is fine. Juicing an apple is just pure sugar. And like there's something about the fiber and the fruit, and it's just I like Cheetos and Reese's and
hey, what kind of do you buy? Are you buying apples? Are you eating apples?
Fruit is something that I don't have a ton of. I have salads about 4 to 5 times a week, and I really like green beans and mushrooms and onions, and I've been having more veggies, but fruit I haven't been having a ton of.
I mean, maybe that's good because, like you said, there is sugar in fruits. I knew a bodybuilder. She was like, "Well, I do it a couple times a week, but."
Joey used to get mad at me when I would say that. He'd go, "No one ever got fat eating apples," so it's true. But it's
that's true. That is true. I know, right? We're like talking about, because my weakness used to be Del Taco, and I broke that habit. I like Del Taco too. I broke the habit, but because there was a Del Taco right by my place, and I would always do a set, like you said, on the way home. I'd go to the drive-through. Let me get 2 bean cheese burritos,
French fries and tacos, man. That place, dude,
it was heaven. It was just a bad. I don't know. It was a habit, and then I'll tell you what helped me break that habit is they turned it into a Starbucks. So so I mean, it was no longer there. So that'll break a habit, because I'm like, I'm not going to drive an extra 4 miles to go. I'm not going to do it,
No.
But so I broke that habit, and then COVID, I'm not really eating late at night like I used to, because drive-throughs. I'm not really doing the drive-through thing. So
drive-throughs, and it's weird. I would love to have someone smart enough explain to me what they put in there that is actually addicting. I know sugar's addicting, but I think some of the chemicals are.
Yeah.
I'll now it's not as bad. Now I'll just drive by and wish I was there. But like at the beginning, I'd have these urges of like, I want to go to McDonald's, and like, it's not as good as it. I remember as a kid, it was delicious, but now like half the time you go and it's like the fries are cold or stale, and it's not even worth it.
It's not worth it. And the reason I asked about apples is, I like it depends on the type of apple, because if you get like certain brand, like certain like Red Delicious, I don't really think they're that good. But if you get like a Gala, 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 those are like pretty damn good. And then they're a little bit more expensive, but sometimes I get the Honey Crisp. It's called Honey Crisp apples.
I've seen those. I've never tried those, so that's good.
Those are great, man. They're crunchy and delicious, and I'll chop them up and I'll throw them in like some salad, and it makes the salad better. Sometimes I'll eat it by itself. Yeah.
I remember when I first started the weight loss thing, I had a bad week on my weight loss, and I looked and I was having like 2 or 3 apples a night, and who knows? I probably could have blamed it on other stuff, but in my head I was like, I'm eating too many apples. So that's the one. That is the one thing I got really having is dessert, but I'm probably it's probably going to take me most of this year. My first goal was to get under 300 pounds. So now I'm there. My next goal is to get to under 200 pounds.
Yes.
And then once I get there, we'll see how much loose skin I have, not to gross anybody out. And then I don't know if I'll ever get to 150, but if I could get to 170 and just be like normal chubby, like, you know how like everyone's like, oh, if I just lost 20 pounds, I'd be ripped. That's where I want to be.
Do you oh, okay. So I was gonna say, with the writing stuff down, like with the MyFitnessPal or whatever, you know what I like to do? I've been doing this since like June. I'll write down every day. Because I've been doing 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups almost every day. Like as a morning. Yeah, as a morning ritual. Like I'll just make it, I figure you brush your teeth every day. No, I don't do it every day, but I write down like March 2nd and I'll put like 50, circle it. And if I miss a day, I'll put, I'll put like March 3rd, and then I'll put like an X. So I see it. Okay. And then I'll see if I miss the next day, that's another X. And I don't want to ever see 3 X's in a row, because that's like, I say this ain't bowling, but like, right. I want to make sure I'm doing like the 50. And for me, 50 is the good number, because I used to make it 100 or 200. Those are too high for me. It's like I end up giving up after a month.
Hurt yourself, I'm like, too.
Yeah, you hurt yourself. You get tendonitis, so I always tell people, whatever number it is for you, because honestly, Lee, the is the mental part. Even if you told yourself every day I'm going to do 10 sit-ups and 10 push-ups and write it down, you'll find yourself going, I'll do those 10 later. And that's when I realize it's a mental thing,
Right. It gets easier. It gets easier. Like even if you just do 5, suddenly like you might die the first couple of days, but then maybe you'll hit 7. And it does. It always bummed me out when people would say nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. I don't know about that, but
like, that's true.
I don't need to. I've worn jeans. I can count on my fingers how many times I've worn jeans in the past year, and I actually had to stop in, I think it's Arkansas, wherever Walmart's headquarters are, and I had to buy like the biggest jeans they had there, because I thought I'd have to wear them in Milwaukee, and luckily I didn't. But the jeans that were supposed to be my fat jeans were not even close to fitting. And last week I tried them on, and they're actually a little bit too big now. So it's does that part does sort of give you a little boost and keeps you going, and because it's a slow thing, but it's. Right now, I'm averaging between 2 and 4 pounds, usually between 2.5 and 3 pounds a week I'll lose. And if I do that for a year, that's like 150 pounds, 160. Then that's really all I need.
That's so cool.
If I can lose 100 pounds, I'm almost halfway there.
Tell us what it was like the day that you got on the scale and it was under 300 and you saw that for the first time in a long time. How'd that feel?
Amazing. It's because that 3, especially, I'm only 5'4". I shouldn't even be 2, but that 3 is like, and it's a weird thing to motivate yourself with. But I'll watch like My 600-Pound Life or stuff, and because my dad and my mom have cable, and I didn't have it for years. And if you just seeing people at like 5 and 6 and 700 pounds could have very easily been me. I have some very good people in my life who care about me, and sometimes it's annoying. Like, I'm an adult, I can eat what I want, but they care about you, and that 3 is a slippery slope. I think it's. I hate going to I've had to shop at the Fat Man store DXL twice, and it's expensive and it's demoralizing. Because I'm about to start a weight loss podcast about it, because it's something when you're a big person. And I'm guilty of it. When I see a big person, that's really all people see. Unfortunately, it's even if they do like you, it's definitely their first impression, and it doesn't feel good, and it is my fault. I'm the one who no one forced me to eat it. But when to see myself to get under 300 was great, because it showed that, because I mean. I've started diets a million times and given up on them. So the fact that I stuck with it, and that was 36 pounds, so that's good. But every 10 pounds is a good feeling. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it really, like, that's what really keeps you in it, and that's when you hit plateaus and when you reach your goal, like, that's the hard part of it, is keeping it off. Losing it, because I'm not someone who I know I said I'm going to have pasta tonight, but I'm still going to keep it in my calorie range. I'm not going to go over 2,000.
Yeah.
But I'm not someone who, like, I was eating every meal like I had a cheat meal. Some people can have cheat meals, like you were saying. Everyone's different. I'm not someone, I can't try. I'm like a heroin addict. I can't have a little bit of heroin. If I have a cheat meal, I might never get back on the track. So for right now, I have to be pretty strict. Every once in a while, I have and it's funny. Joey's someone who, I feel like if I slip up, it's always going to be in front of him. My dad had his birthday, so my aunt, him and I, we went to a Jewish deli, and I ordered French fries for the first time in like 3 months. I was still under my calories, but I had French fries, and he called me that night and was like, "There's no more French fries," and it's true. I gotta, I have baked chips and I have rice and it's. I've had plenty of French fries in my life, so I got to cut them out for a little bit.
Yeah, that's funny. I remember, because Joey's the first person I heard years ago. He told me the thing about the apples, where he's like, "You're not hungry." It's almost like he was hyping himself up. He's like, "You can, if you're hungry, you'll eat an apple. If you can eat an apple, then you're not too hungry. If you whatever." And I was just like, "He's right."
If you don't want an apple, you're not hungry. Yeah, that's what he said.
Exactly.
And it's true. He's someone who can be a little bit. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. I'll put it that way. He's going to say what he feels, and sometimes it's almost like a parental relationship where you're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, but then like he's not right. No one's right about everything, but sometimes like with that apple thing, you're like, you'll sit there one night and you're like, wow, you're right. If I'm not hungry enough for an apple, I'm not hungry. I'm just eating out of boredom or because it tastes good, and if I'm starving, I'll eat that apple. So it's whatever works. I really like the intermittent fasting. It's Steve Simone's been doing it for years, and for me, it really works.
That's why I said everybody has their own thing. Like, I know a guy that lost a bunch of weight, and he said he would wake up and drink black coffee. He'd have water first on his stomach, and then he'd drink some coffee, and that would kind of get him going through the day. And then he would end the day with like you said, a salad, and the guy dropped weight, man. And it's just, back to fitness. I have a friend, he bought, I don't know, for like $99 or whatever. He got the Ddp Yoga.
That's great too. There's been a bunch of people who've lost a lot of weight on that.
He's like, "Hey, let's do some Ddp Yoga." So I did it with them the one day. He's another comic. We're on the road, and I got to tell you, like, I could see that being pretty good because it was fun stuff. It was like, do incredible hulks, now stretch out like this and lean back, and it was.
I actually did a class with him once. I was
did you really?
With my ex, and he was friends with Eddie Bravo. We were at 24-hour fitness, and Eddie came over to say hi, and he was there, and he was doing a seminar, I think in Burbank or something, and we went and I did it. But there's like, actually, I don't know if you've seen it or not, he has 2 videos. One with a former Air Force paratrooper.
Oh, I saw that one. Yes,
who couldn't walk and is now running. And then there's a guy. Honestly, and I want to talk to him. He doesn't. I don't know if he knows who I am or not, but he used to be like over 400 pounds. His name is Vance something, and he got in touch with Bert Kreischer somehow when they
I saw that.
First, and now he's like very low 2s. So honestly, when I looked at that, and it sounds not in a hateful way, but when he was so far above me, and now I'm above him, I was like, wow, I need to get my life together, because he lost like 200 pounds in a year, and he's killing it. So it's there's a lot of ways to lose weight. And you gotta find which one works for you, because you're right. Some people can do keto and love it. I did it. I mean, I did it when it was called Atkins, and I was literally microwaving cheese and pepperoni. It's not exactly the healthiest thing.
Right.
So for me, like we were talking about calories, I get this bread. It's called Delightful, and Most bread is like 100 calories a slice, 80 calories a slice. This one's 45. Tastes the same. And I'm just, I'm not, I don't even really think I'm on a diet, or I'm eating, I'm eating healthier, but I still have what I want. I just make sure that it's within a window.
Yeah. I know someone else that lost weight, and they said, they don't, I said, what was your trick? And she said, don't overindulge and don't deny myself. She's like, that worked for her though. She said, if I get a pizza, with like the family or a get together or something, she's like, I'll have like 2 slices. I'm not going to eat the whole box.
Oh, you can do it. I just can't do that. Like
okay, that's what I'm saying. Everyone.
I was trying to come up with something, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I've been to therapy, but not for food, but it's for whatever I was trying to, when I was getting close to hitting 50, and I'll probably hit it next week. I was thinking about like, ooh, how can I treat myself now that I've lost 50 pounds? And I was like, no pizza, because I haven't had pizza in 3 months. And it's like that there's something wrong in my head, that my first instinct is to like treat myself with food. So I'm not gonna do that. Maybe I'll save pizza for the 100-pound thing, because I'm not someone who can leave 4 slices. I remember that's another thing I did at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like, here's what I'll do. Domino's has the $5 pizza thing. I ordered like 4 of them, and I literally I had one for dinner, and I put a bunch of them in Ziploc bags and put them in the freezer. And I was eating pizza. That's what I was doing, because I was convinced that the world was ending. She's right though, and that other than sweets, I have a little bit of something, and it's not that bad. It's
you know what changed, but once you know what changed. I was gonna say what changed my life for exercise is I joined that boxing gym. And I've been to like 4 of them now, and I realized like you almost don't even need equipment. You just got to like even just shadow boxing, and to me I found fun. Like I'm like, I can do this anywhere. I don't need to drive in my car down to the gym, and because I got real bored at gyms, you know. But are you doing kettlebells these days?
Yeah, I do kettlebells twice a week. I was doing.
That's so cool.
I would love if it opened. God, I had a whole. I left LA. I didn't want to pay for like a whole moving truck, so I fit whatever I could in my car. And unfortunately, I only could fit one of the. I had like a whole set of kettlebells, and now they're way more expensive. So I'm gonna wait until they come back down in price a little bit. But I have one 35-pounder, and but I am really looking forward to. It's funny. I don't think I'll ever be a fitness person, but if I ever had the money, I would like, and I got down to that weight, opening up a kettlebell gym would be something that because it's sort of the same thing. You can do kettlebells anywhere, and B for if you do it for 30 minutes, that's a great workout. I did the elliptical one of the times I lost weight, and you like you said, you do it for an hour and you burn 300 calories, and you're just sitting there like, when is this going to go over?
Yeah.
In 20, 30 minutes with kettlebells, it's a great workout, and it puts a little bit of muscle on you. I don't have the guns you have, but it burns fat. It burns fat throughout the day. So I love kettlebells.
That's so cool. I bet you'll do that, you know, with your YouTube and your podcasts and your weight loss journey and the fans that you're building up and just getting your story out there. You're sharing it, you know, and I if that's something you'd want to do, heck yeah, man. Can you imagine like, Lee Syatt's kettlebell gym? Because you're
if in 5 years I'm shredded and I have a kettlebell gym, it is funny though. Because I every once in a while I'll get a little down on myself. I'm like, in my head I wasn't gonna be 32 living with my parents. And it's a pandemic, so I give myself a little bit of a break with it, but it still wasn't part of the plan. But it's funny how life is you can't really plan it. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 years I have a kettlebell gym and who knows what happens. But it's it would be fun. Because
I mean, you're right there with the, with like the connections, I'm sure, of people that we all believe in you. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like people will be like, you know what, I want to lend my name to help Lee out. And it's like, why not? Especially like you said, you're an inspiration to everybody. Oh, I want to ask you this.
About that, but thank you.
Yeah, no, you are. I remember before you started this, I was listening to your podcast and you're like, and you said something that made me laugh because just the way you said it, you're like, I've heard like many people talk about how eventually good food tastes good. And you're like, I'm going to see if food that's good for you really does taste good, or are these people just delusional lying to us? Like, have you been able to discover some food that,
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I for whatever reason, my ex or my mom would say, like, what are you talking about on the podcast today? Yeah. I never remember. So I don't remember saying that, but it's true. Yeah, I mean, listen, a good cheeseburger and French fries is always, or pizza. I'm not going to say it tastes better, but
right.
The grilled, what I've really fallen in love with is the mixture of green beans, mushrooms, and onions, as like those veggies work with really any meat and starch. So, like, a good steak, a good nice piece of grilled chicken with like either Asian seasoning or even just like if you get a little crispy. My dad has an electric wok down here, and it gets it real hot, and it really like caramelizes the outside of the chicken. And it tastes better than I expect. And then the other thing that I found is Greek salads. It was always a struggle for me to eat salad, and you got to be careful with the feta. But as long as you're careful with the feta and the croutons, a Greek salad's not bad.
Yeah, it's my wife, she makes she bakes it eggplant, and you slice it up, it looks like the size of a little silver dollar, and and it's so good, man. It's like, I'm like, that's actually pretty healthy. Although Tom Brady doesn't eat nightshade, and I had to look up what nightshade was, and I think eggplant is nightshade.
He doesn't eat anything. There are some pictures of him, and like, I'm sure he doesn't want to be fat, but he looks like a little gray and like sunken in. Like he needs to have a little bit more. Tom Brady's a sore subject for me. I'm sad at the way he left the Patriots, but no, I know his diet's pretty intense.
Hey, you guys are both in Florida though, so maybe you'll see him.
If I saw him, I probably wouldn't say anything, but it was such a bummer the way he left, because there's some like, and not to bring it down, but like I saw the way LA reacted when Kobe passed away.
Yeah,
it was like the Pope had passed away, and Tom Brady gave the Patriots 20 amazing years, and he took less money and all of that, and all that's true. And I probably shouldn't be butthurt, but he was just so important to me and to the fans. That the way he left was disappointing. I'll put it that way. And you can't tell someone to retire or what to do, but I mean, he had 6 rings, he had millions of dollars. His wife makes more, is a supermodel and makes more money than him. So to me, I would have, and then also I heard, and you never know what's true, but it came out like the Patriots owner said, oh, we would have paid him whatever he wanted to stay. So to me, I was disappointed in the way he left. When he's retired and not winning the Super Bowl with Gronk, just to have it in our back a little bit more, I'll probably forgive him a little bit. But right now, I'm not the biggest Tom Brady fan.
Yeah. I could see that, man. I could see it in your.
I called him a traitor on my podcast. I was angry, and I called him a turncoat.
Hey, tell people, while we're on the topic, where can people find your podcast?
It's called What Was I Thinking? It's on everywhere, and then I'm also I guess I'll announce it here. Do you know when this is coming out roughly?
I'm going to put it out this week. I'm going to put it up very soon, maybe tonight.
Okay, so it's not out yet, but within the next week, I'm going to commit to it. I'm stealing an idea from Dr. Drew and Mike Catherwood and Adam Carolla. I'm starting a podcast called Waistline, and I'm going to talk about, I'm Love Line, Waistline. I'm stealing the idea. But actually, you know what? I'll post it. Now I'm feeling worried someone's going to steal it. I'll set up the account tonight then. But I'm gonna, because we were talking about my brother at the beginning of this, how he's a trainer, and I talked to him. I said, how many of your clients are like me, have like 100+ pounds to lose, and how many of them are, either already in shape or have 20 pounds to lose? And he said like 80 to 90% of them were already in shape or had like 20, 30 pounds to lose. So I think there's a big thing going on, especially in this country and probably all over the world, where there's a lot of people who are sort of have given up, or like, I'm just going to be big forever. And I want to, and I hate the term safe space. I'm still trying to figure out a better way to describe it, but I'm just trying to create something online where people can feel comfortable sharing their journeys and how it worked for them and their struggle. Like this week I lost 2.5 pounds, but I was really or 3 pounds. I was really nervous that I wasn't going to lose weight because I had rice twice, and I was having trouble getting rid of it. And it's just, losing weight can be a very lonely thing. Sometimes you feel like no one else is going through it. So I'm starting that as something to, to bring people together. So I'm starting that. I have a Patreon, but if you just follow me on social media at Lee Syatt, LeeSytt, everything is there.
I love it. And Waistline. So what will Waistline be? Will people be able to call in, or do you have an idea for it yet?
I don't have a screener, so I'm going to have to do I'm going to let people leave voicemails. I did an episode of my What Was I Thinking with a doctor. So I'm going to have doctors come on and answer questions. I'm going to have trainers come on. I'm going to have people who have lost, like the guys who lost weight on DDP. I'll have them on hopefully and have them tell their stories. And I just, I want it to be someplace where someone can be like, okay, I could lose a little bit of weight. And even if you're never going to be Darren Carter with guns, but at least, you might.
That's amazing. I like that I'm known as Darren Carter with.
Oh, you are.
That's so cool. Dude, that's cool. Thank you. Before I started my journey, I was just like this balding redhead guy that was starting to get kind of, I didn't like the way I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, I just started seeing these photos and I was like, man, I was looking like Olaf, my teeth are crooked and the thinning hair, and I was just on stage and I didn't like it, man. Like, it was funny, but then I was like, I don't want to be that guy anymore. Like, I was like,
and it's tough. Like, it's, we lost Ralphie a couple of years ago, and I think he was in his mid 40s, like 45, 46, something like that. And it's just, I'm going to be 33 in July, and I don't want to have just 10 years left. When you're 20, 40 sounds so far away. But now that I'm in my early 30s, I'm like, that's really not that far away anymore. So I'm just trying to be a little bit healthier. Like that's all. We'll see about the shredded, but for now, just a little bit healthier is good.
Yeah, that's great. Lee, thank you for coming on the show. Oh, in closing, I always end the show like this. I always ask people if they have any words of wisdom, something they'd like to share with our viewers and listeners, something they've learned along the way. Any words of wisdom?
What I'll say is, because I'm a very shy person. I'm like the being in the house for the pandemic wasn't that hard for me. But I'm not someone who is good at reaching out. I didn't like asking for help. And I didn't like burdening people with that sort of stuff. But what I've learned in the past couple years is that even if you only have one or two close friends, or even if it's an online friend, whatever it is that it's always good to take help when you're offered it, and use other people, because not everyone's good at everything. And if you struggle with something, especially with the internet, you might not even know what their face looks like, but like that, and I'm not doing this to push my Patreon. I'm just, the best thing I did on there was I started doing the live Zoom workouts, because I have like 8 to 10 people who are there almost every day with me, and we're friends, and I know what's going on in their life, and it's just, especially during COVID, we can be so isolated, and you're not talking to people, or I don't remember the last time I hugged anybody, to be honest with you. Like, and it can get lonely. So what I would say is, you use your relationships, and even if it's uncomfortable, people are there to help. There's, as terrible as the world may seem at some points, I still like to think there's more good than bad, and hopefully someone can help you, or you can help someone else. That would be like, I get really uncomfortable when people say, "Oh, you inspired me." I'm nowhere. I personally don't see myself as an inspiration, but if me not eating candy anymore can help convince another guy who's 300-400 pounds to make a small change, that would be really awesome. So that's what I would say.
That's great, Lee. Thank you, man. Hey, you know what? We can't hug, but we can do a virtual high five. Oh, a virtual hug! Yay!
We just did the white guy thing virtually. We're like on high five. It's great to see you. I miss you, and hopefully within the next year or so, I'll get to see you in person again.
Likewise. Oh, I got a question. Technical question. Thumbnail. Should you send me a photo, or should we like smile real big and make that the thumbnail?
Whichever one you prefer. Which one do you want to do?
Let's try both. We'll do a quick smile, and then maybe this will be the thumbnail.
I'll text you my skinny headshot. People will be, well, he gained weight, but I'll text you my.
Okay, text me that, and then right now we'll do a quick little thumbnail. Ready? And smile. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Like that. That should work. Lee, you're the best, man. Thank you, and I do hope to see you in real life again soon.
Oh, if you're ever on the East Coast, let me know. But hopefully, I do miss LA and people there. So once things open up again, I'll definitely be out there and saying hi to everybody.
Man, and that's great. And thanks for coming on. And I'll talk to you soon. Go have a good day and rest of your day. And thank you.
And yeah, I'll please let me know when this goes up, and I'll tweet it and put it out. And I'll miss you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it, man. Thank you. Bye, Lee. Thank you.
We're done with this interview.